phony, and totally weird. Gavin's hands. It's time for Gavin's hands.
The notion of agency, that we're not bystanders in the world. It's decisions, not conditions, that determine our fate and future. And that fundamental notion of agency, I think, is important more broadly. And I think that goes to some of the issues around, victimization. And I see a lot of that, respectively, on the right, increasingly, even with Trump often approaching things from that sort of.
Gavin Newsom walks in like California's own James Bond. Slick, confident, and loaded with enough hair gel to survive a hurricane. He carries himself like he's untouchable, soaking up the spotlight as if it was built just for him. Then Tyrus enters. A wall of muscle with the presence of a linebacker and the delivery of a truth bomb. When Tyrus speaks, even the cameras seem to pause. This isn't gentle criticism. It's a roast sharp enough to draw blood. And you can feel that things are about to blow right open.
A myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties, and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just.
California shines like the ultimate postcard. Sun, surf, and sparkling luxury everywhere you look. Mornings greet you with the sound of ocean waves, nights sparkle with rooftop lights, and kale smoothies are practically a lifestyle. But scratch beneath the surface and the fantasy starts to crumble. The so-called Golden State begins to feel more like a chaotic documentary spinning out of control. And hey, before we dive any deeper, make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Go back and watch the tape.
Yes!
He literally goes, I want some of this, then you do some of this, and I'll do some of that back to you, and then we'll do this, and then I'll pay you, and then we'll do it again.
True.
And then she kept saying, no. Okay, how about this? You do this one first, then we do this one, then we give a little back and forth.
The streets now look like something straight out of Mad Max. Taxes land like heavy punches, and people scatter like sprinters off the starting gun. In the eye of this chaos stands Gavin, hair perfect, smile flawless, completely unaware as everything unravels around him. He stays untouched, striking poses like the disaster is just the backdrop for his next photo shoot. His speeches have all the drama of a Hollywood lead, long pauses, sweeping gestures, and that grin that screams, "Trust me." But here's the kicker. While Newsom plays California's hero, the reality looks more like a blooper reel. Homelessness keeps climbing, and the state reels from the fallout.
You can't, it's not his words when he speaks.
Yeah.
You have to watch him closely. And some genius decided not to film him any lower than the shoulder.
Yes, did you? Yes.
So what did he do?
You couldn't see the hands.
No, but he sent Morris.
Businesses operate like every day is an evacuation drill, while regular people wonder why they're paying Beverly Hills prices to live in what feels more like Gotham City reborn. Then Tyrus steps in, and that's when the real show kicks off. No sugarcoating, no scripted lines, just raw, unfiltered truth landing like a knockout punch. Where Newsom glides in with polished perfection, Tyrus storms in with grit, fire, and no apologies.
I'll be in the car.
Yes, I think you've done enough this evening. You can take the rest of the week off.
Thank you.
Charlie, I don't
We've all been there, right?
Yes, we have. Yeah, it's noisy in this
Sorry,
city.
every time I look, I just see him going. I'm sorry.
You know, another option it could be, because he's doing the whole rebrand with the podcast and he's trying to.
And the kind of confidence that doesn't need cameras to feel real. Newsom polishes his speeches until they sparkle, while Tyrus speaks straight from the gut. Newsom sells dreams. Tyrus shatters illusions. Picture it. Newsom strutting under the bright lights, chest out, hair gleaming like it has its own budget, bragging about California's golden progress. But beyond the cameras, San Francisco and Los Angeles, once the glittering jewels of America, now look more like open-air experiments in chaos and misery. Tyrus doesn't hide behind charm or clever lines. He cuts straight through the act, exposing the cracks beneath the shine. The streets tell a story the headlines won't print. Tension, crime, and despair all wrapped in sunshine filters. And he stares it down, asking the questions everyone else is too scared to voice.
Or he's negotiating with the deaf prostitute.
Yeah.
Let's just stick with that.
Yeah.
More likely.
Yeah.
maybe you can fix California while you stop by. 2 shows, you should be able to do that.
Hey, you know what? Real funny. So the other night, I got like 3 weeks ago. Time flies when you work. I get a text at 2 o'clock in the morning from the president who says, "Hey, bro, I just filled California up with water. Governor's pissed," and sent pictures. LOL post. Who doesn't love this president?
How can a place once called paradise now look like a live-action zombie movie? Newsom promised utopia, but what he delivered feels more like The Walking Dead, with better lighting. And while Newsom poses for his next magazine spread, Tyrus stands in the wreckage, speaking the truth. And it lands harder than any polished speech ever could. Let's talk business. California wasn't always just a state. It was the dream, the crown jewel of innovation. Silicon Valley, Hollywood, Napa Valley, names that once screened success. The air itself seemed to hum with ambition. But under Newsom's rule, that shine is fading fast. Companies are packing up, leaving empty offices and broken promises behind. Headquarters vanish overnight, jobs disappear like smoke. And where are they heading? Texas, Florida, even Nevada. People are choosing desert heat and humidity over California's so-called perfect weather.
Back and watch it. Look at the blinking. Blink, look. Meet me at the house. Like, he's blinking. He's sending. I'm getting there. Hey, just so you know, I'm not wearing pants.
Ew.
And then, look, he's blinking. And then eventually, the camera guy realizing that he's signaling him, so he gets appalled, leans back, camera comes down, and then we're back to this. I'll do this for you. You do this for me a little. So he's saying whatever he's going to say. There it is. See? They couldn't hold him back. He's like, I'm not on film. Oh, I'm not. Nope.
Just to escape the taxes and endless red tape. That says it all. And Tyrus doesn't let it slide. He looks at the mass exodus and says exactly what everyone's been whispering. If people are running from paradise, maybe it isn't paradise anymore. His words slice through the political fluff like a knife. And who could forget the great lockdown hypocrisy? While ordinary Californians rationed toilet paper, cut their own hair, and mourned through screens, Newsom dined and wined with lobbyists under chandeliers. While the people struggled, he played the role of a Hollywood socialite, a governor turned Gatsby, sipping vintage wine as the rest of the state went dark. Tyrus calls it straight. In a world where leaders act like celebrities, someone has to remind them that California doesn't need another star.
Well, speaking of full of I'm sorry, I'm confused. He's still governor, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he could do something about it. That's the most irritating thing, is like, why did anyone say with a follow-up where he's like, the homeless situation is ridiculous? Follow-up question, aren't you governor?
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference. That's the difference between the radical left and President Trump. He'll talk about something as it's...
California doesn't need another star, it needs a leader. That dinner became the perfect symbol of Newsom's leadership, a shining snapshot of hypocrisy frozen in time. Rules for the people, perks for the king. The image alone could hang in a museum with the plaque, "Do as I say, not as I do." Tyrus doesn't just talk about it, he brings it to life. His words paint the scene so clearly, you can almost hear the clinking silverware and faint laughter drifting through the candlelight. While families sat in cramped apartments, reheating pizza in worn-out sweatpants, Newsom lifted a crystal glass under golden chandeliers, smiling and proclaiming, "We're all in this together." The irony was cinematic. Tyrus tears into that moment like a director exposing the bloopers behind the glamour. He doesn't need statistics or political slogans. His truth hits harder than any charter speech ever could.
He's playing with us. Meet me at my house. You get mine. I get yours. It'll work out.
Paul, are they capable of soul searching? It feels like the party itself has no soul.
Yeah, I know, they have no soul. You know, it's a really interesting statement. If you just kind of, you can break it in two. He spends the whole first part of that saying, we lost because this. Essentially what he says is, folks, we were on the wrong side of every issue last.
He has reality on his side. He talks about rising homelessness, streets overrun by crime, gas prices that hit the working class like a punch, and neighborhoods that once felt like dreams now turned into survival zones. California was meant to be a promise. Now it feels like a sentence. Beautiful, broken, and burdened. Tyrus says what everyone is thinking, but too many are afraid to voice. He turns frustration into fire, outrage into humor, and truth into a weapon. That's why people listen. When Tyrus speaks, he isn't spinning stories. He's showing life exactly as it is, raw and unfiltered. The fallout? Absolutely explosive.
He's going to go up and say, listen, I'm going to sign an executive order to stop homelessness, and here's how we're going to do it. Bam, 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 done. The border, done. 5 days later, 99%, no one's crossed. They're standing at the border like, you go. No, that, you go. Like, no one wants to.
On one side, ordinary Californians nodded along, a mix of relief and vindication washing over them. Finally, someone had spoken aloud what they'd been whispering for years. On the other side, defenders scrambled, twisting themselves into knots to excuse, explain, or distract. The chaos wasn't just political, it was cinematic. But the real irony? It couldn't be scripted better. A man known for body slams and one-liners making more sense than the governor of America's largest state. That says it all. Tyrus doesn't hide behind data sheets or buzzwords. He doesn't need a PR team to make his point. He simply looks at the wreckage and calls it like it is. This isn't working. Meanwhile, Newsom keeps selling California as the shining model of progress. Glossy speeches, bright lights, and endless photo ops.
Gavin, I know him very well. He's incompetent. He's a nice guy, looks good. Hi, everybody. How you doing? He's got some strange hand action going. I don't know what the hell his problem is. It's a little weird, to be honest. There's a little something shaky going on there.
I came into that recall campaign still arguing that all politics is local. I still had a romantic notion of that. I intellectualized that a lot of our politics and the discourse was national. I didn't fully appreciate how nationalized our politics have become. In so many ways, that shape-shifted a lot of what we're doing and who I am today. But this last year, these last 6-7 months, this is something altogether different.
But take just one step off Rodeo Drive, and the illusion begins to fall apart. The streets tell a different story. Cracked sidewalks, flickering lights, and a so-called golden future held together with little more than duct tape and denial. Tyrus doesn't need to raise his voice. His words hit harder because they're real. He's the opposite of Newsom's polished performance. Less shine, more truth. And in a state that once promised dreams, maybe honesty is the only thing left that still feels golden. Tyrus slices through California's glossy illusion like a knife through silk. He isn't impressed by drone shots or glossy travel ads showcasing endless beaches and golden skies. He looks deeper, past the sparkle, straight into the reality beneath.
Yeah, his hands are just weird, though, Tyrus. They're always doing funky things.
Yeah, I thought it had something to do with the California budget cuts and stuff, since they didn't have a hearing impaired transitioner anymore. I'm not paying money for that. I'll do it myself.
The parts no one wants to show. Under every overpass, tents stretch for blocks, forming a second city. Boarded up storefronts line streets that once thrived, buried under red tape and forgotten promises. Families whisper about rent hikes, forced to face a choice no one should: pay the bills or pitch a tent and call it camping with benefits. Tyrus doesn't sugarcoat it, he exposes it. His voice cuts through the noise, raw and unapologetic. If dysfunction were a sport, he says with a smirk, Cal would be the undefeated champion. And he's not wrong. The state that once symbolized innovation now reads like a cautionary tale, beauty wrapped around chaos. Then he zeroes in on the crown jewel of hypocrisy, Gavin Newsom himself. Tyrus doesn't attack for spectacle. He holds up a mirror. Leading through crisis is one thing. Admitting failure is another entirely.
So,
A little bit of bubble.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you were the sign person for the TV going...
No, he reminds me there of, remember?
It's another thing entirely to act invincible while sneaking off to luxury dinners as ordinary people are lectured to stay home. That's what makes Tyrus dangerous to the polished elite. He doesn't fear the spotlight because he doesn't need it. He redirects it, shining it right where it hurts most. And under that light, the California dream starts to look less like paradise and more like a perfectly staged illusion unraveling in real time. That infamous dinner, where Newsom cozied up with lobbyists at a Michelin-starred restaurant, wasn't just a scandal. It was a statement, a masterclass in arrogance. While millions of Californians canceled weddings, funerals, and even Thanksgiving with their families, the governor dined on truffle pasta under warm chandeliers, surrounded by laughter and luxury. It wasn't leadership, it was theater. And the audience? Furious.
I was in the White House, this is one of the first things I would do. Clean up your streets. Instead of sending our military men and women out to other places to make other countries safe, make our streets safe. How is this an argument? If you don't like it, what's not to like? Other than that you have to tip your hat to the orange devil. That's the problem. Then you know what? Find a way, like, make it your own. Like, no, you will not bring in 1,500 National Guards. We will only allow 1,200. And then
Tyrus never lets that moment fade. He brings it up again and again, like Exhibit A in the trial of hypocrisy. Rules for thee, not for me. The phrase became a rallying cry because it was true. People remember being fined for gathering with friends while their own governor broke the very laws he enforced. That memory doesn't fade, it stings. Tyrus doesn't over-dramatize it, he paints it vividly. You can almost see it, the sparkle of crystal glasses, the hush of velvet seating, and the quiet hum of privilege filling the room. While ordinary families sat at kitchen tables, eating leftovers and holding on to hope, Newsom dined like a monarch, untouched by his own rules. That's the moment California's illusion cracked. It wasn't about food or laws, it was about respect, or rather, the complete lack of it. That dinner proved exactly what Tyrus had been saying all along. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe.